And VP, we are motherfucking live. I have to get the motherfucking out quick just so people know. Don't play
what kind
this
of show this is.
This is that kind of
This
show.
is that kind of show.
You look like Elon Musk at a Trump rally.
We're gonna go to Mars, my friend. Shout out to Timothy Olivier. I think he gave me this jacket a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm having a bad hair day, so I had to put a hat on. You ever have it? You ever have those?
Every day is a bad hair day for me, man. Like I was born with bad hair. You know, actually, when I had hair, it was bad.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was the white guy afro thing, and I don't know who, because my mom has decent hair. But like in mine, it became this crazy dense thing. I used to tell the woman to thin it, and I would pray, like, could it please get thinner? And I got my prayer. Yeah.
One day you're like, oh God.
One day I was like, damn it.
This prayer has come true.
Prayer is, why was God real? All this time I just assumed he wasn't. Or they, actually, God's pronouns are they.
Oh, is it they, them?
Yeah, they, them. Those. Yeah.
Well, those are now pronouns not allowed in Department of Defense.
So they got rid of pronouns there?
And I think that the press secretary, if the reporter has pronouns in their bio, they won't reply. They won't. They won't reply.
You know, it's so funny. Like sometimes these guys blow people up and sometimes these guys blow people up. So the left had their way for how many years? Now the right's doing their thing. It's just reaction, counter-reaction, reaction, counter-reaction. That's the world of duality, as we say in the spiritual industrial complex, or sick. Well, look at all these comments already. It got thinner. I don't know what that means, Sophia. Are you talking about, are you like from Silence of the Lambs? She's like, it gets thinner or it gets the hose again. Man, it's been a minute though.
It's been a long time. How many months has it been? We were just having dinner. The show was a surprise.
It was a side hustle from dinner because we were like, let's hang out. And we, you know, contrary to popular belief, Vinay and I are friends and we hang out. We
hang out.
Don't necessarily want to make shows all the time.
We don't always record what we're saying.
That's right, because we would go to jail.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and at least be canceled. But
there can't be a record of every conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, Ashley likes your jacket. She says, I feel the bad hair days. My hair is so thick. See, you have thick hair too.
It is very thick and poofy. So
yeah,
sometimes it doesn't.
You know, you do yoga, right? We were talking about this.
I do. That's what keeps me so flexible.
You look like one of those guys that you see on like a National Geographic, documentary.
In the loincloth?
Yeah, in the loincloth with like you can contort into all these. Can you do any of that stuff?
I can do a fair bit, but I don't think I'm the most flexible person. I think my advantage is probably upper body strength.
Oh.
Because a lot of people who do yoga some of the best people are women, of course.
Right.
Women are usually like lower body strength through the roof, but upper body strength is.
So what kind of poses are you typically strong at with upper body then?
I could hold plank for several minutes. We should do a live plank off.
Oh my God, dude! Was that a video? Was that a movie with John Travolta? Plank off.
Plank off.
Oh my God, that should be. Okay, yeah. So you can do planks. That's good. I realize if I don't look at the camera, the focus is it's face detecting.
Oh, I
and
see.
It sees side face, and it's like I don't know what to do. So at least I have to keep staring at the camera.
See, AI is not as good as it needs to be.
It doesn't have eye.
It doesn't have eye.
It just has A.
You know, a lot of people don't have eye.
Yeah,
real people.
A lot of
eye is the part we've been looking for.
Let's launch into that. It's funny because we have a different regime now running health and human services and healthcare, and people are saying like it's all very much on political lines. Like people who hated the response to COVID are rejoicing. People thought
like me.
Yeah,
people like
the VP.
Yeah.
And I actually don't care at all. It's very strange. Like my whole set of belief structures has kind of just been like, yeah, I don't know. Not a fan of RFK. I've said that publicly. But what I think we could talk about is where is the actual intelligence in general on either political side in terms of doing science? Let's just take vaccine. So everybody's talking about now, okay, measles is happening.
Right to the hard stuff.
Go right to the hard stuff. Because you can talk about your moral beliefs around these things and, oh my God, there's conspiracies of this, or, we should, mask everybody or, give every infant child a COVID vaccine. Or we could actually go, well, how would you actually design a trial or actually look at this to see what should we do?
That's a good question. So which vaccine should we talk about? I think fall COVID-19 shot, maybe?
Okay.
I mean, what I would do is I would say...
what's the current recommendation, by the way?
the last year's recommendation by a gentleman named Peter Marks, who's currently probably shopping his CV around a few companies.
I got a CV.
You got a CV.
He wants to be my gaffer.
Is he going to work for Moderna or Pfizer or both or all of the above? Well, it was based on, first of all, he picked a strain to target based on an analogy to purchasing milk. Oh. So, obviously it was very scientific there. He's like, we could go after this strain or that strain, but when I go to the milk case, I like to get the most recent jug of milk. So he picked
That's what he said?
That's what he said. Yeah, that was, and that is the strength of the recommendation.
So imagine if we managed HIV that way, it would just be like the slogan would be "Got AIDS," and that would be it.
Got AIDS.
So that's disturbing, but okay. Yeah. Keep going.
Well, anyway, so it's been a while since I talked about these topics or even cared about these topics.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just don't care.
Okay. It's been a while since I talked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, last year recommendation was, of course, the booster starts when you're 6 months old.
Yeah.
You got to get it in early, right?
Yep.
Early and often, they say about the boosting these kids for COVID. 6 months to all ages. Okay. And it was a vaccine that had no randomized controlled trials powered for any clinical endpoint. So we don't know it reduces disease, catching COVID or getting severe COVID or anything like that. What I think a sensible scientific solution would be, you allow the company some flexibility in what target they want to go after. Mm-hmm. I don't think that has to be proscribed by FDA. Okay. We got a lot of heat for having to telling people, like not telling people the target, but companies should be a little bit free to either go after sort of a parent strain of it or the most recent strain. And then companies should be said, run a randomized trial September-ish. August, September-ish, when the air conditionings are blowing, because air conditioning can spread it, apparently. And power your trial for reduction in hospitalization due to COVID. And then the first thing they'll say the company stats guy is like, well, how big that trial going to be? And they'll be like, oh, you want to include the 6 months old? And they're like, yeah, sure, why not? And they're like, oh, then the trial will be 10 million people. And I'm like, okay, now, because, the event rate is so low. Yeah, right. So then they're going to say, okay, no, why don't we target the elderly? Why don't we go after 65 or 70? I was like, oh, target the elderly? That's an interesting, so you're saying focus protection. Oh, yeah. How about a little focus protection? Like, oh, that sounds good. Okay, so let's go after 65 or let's say 65 with comorbidities or 75. And then they'll say maybe the sample size should be like something like 20,000 or 15,000 or 30,000, depending on the event rate. And then they'll run the study. And then the study can accrue the 10% of Americans who want to participate in such a study, if there's even that, because I think now it's become so polarized. There's huge chunks. I wouldn't enroll in the study, to be honest with you, because I'm not worried. But they'll run their study and then they'll get approval if they have a positive endpoint. I think that's the scientific way. Like for all drug products, you run a trial. If the trial meets a clinically relevant endpoint, you get drug approval. So that's how I do that one.
Yeah, and what's the chances of that happening?
I don't know, actually. That ball's in Marty's court. We got to bring him back.
We got Marty on the VPZ now, but now he's in power, and we know power corrupts, and absolute power doesn't corrupt at all. Is that the saying?
Marty is like Batman in the third Batman. He's like so above it all. He can give it up at any time and be on the piazza sipping a drink with Catwoman.
Now with Marty, it's going to be a Goldschlager on the rocks.
A Goldschlager?
Or perhaps a peach schnapps. I know Marty's predispositions.
And a bowl of soup.
That's right. Marty.
Yeah, but I think Marty's a good person to put in charge of it. We'll see what happens. But okay, let's talk about another thing. What about if you want to do good vaccine science around safety? Yeah. Because I heard they want to do this. I heard the result is coming soon. Well, I don't know about the result.
I hear we're curing autism soon.
I hear they want to study it. And
and it hasn't been studied apparently at all.
Well, okay, that's an interesting question. Yeah. I want to make a table of all the vaccines and all the autism studies. I think it's been studied many, many times.
Exactly right. That's my point.
But I think a lot of them are MMR. And I think that some of their claims are like, well, what if it's the combo of it's hard to I want to know exactly the landscape of studies. That's one too. But I think if you really wanted to study it, I wouldn't frame it as a study for autism. I would frame it as we want to study the safety signals of all vaccines, whatever those safety signals are. Right. And I think the only way to do it is a prospective data collection. Like, in other words, I do not think that it's possible to take existing data sets and get at any greater truth than what we've gotten. I think if you want to do it, you would say, starting this summer, we're going to take 75 sites and literally collect, tons of data going forward on anyone getting vaccine a month later and things like that.
Who would your control, or who would be the negative group? Just people who decline?
People who decline, or you could do some time series analysis, like people who get it 1 month later, depending on birthday or something like that.
Because you could examine people who delay vaccines. They don't like the schedule. They think it's too packed. They delay it. Or how many of them are getting sick, or how many of them are
even comparing like you know, like a kid who gets a vaccine at say 6 months of age against a 5-month-old kid for at least the next month, you know, like somebody who's just below or above the cutoff.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think what would be, to me, I mean, these are good questions. I mean, there's a whole nother strategy, which is maybe we start to actually try to do some randomization for different strategies. Like, you know, we have a very different schedule than Denmark. So you could, for instance, try to do cluster randomized trial of pediatrics practices to give them Denmark's schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's one. That's one. The one thing is, how do you create, your question is, how do you create the variability where the only difference between the two groups is the vaccine? That's a good scientific question.
Yeah.
Then the second question is, how do you assess the endpoint? And I think what I would want to do to assess the endpoint is a lot of phoning people up and completing some surveys as to what's going on in the kid's life, or et cetera. Like, I think I'd want to collect data at a greater, deeper resolution that's ever been done.
Yeah, boy, it's interesting because there's so much bandwidth in what how the responses can pan out. There isn't just a click box. It's more like, well, you know, he's a little, I don't know, he's a little racist. Is that one of the things that can happen? Like, he just really doesn't like white people. I don't know what it is.
You need like
he's white.
Standardized questions paired with the chart.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tricky problem.
It's hard. Yeah. And well, so we have Nicolay gave us a donation of $10. That's great.
And just gives I think it is an idiocy.
A shout out for your mask work. Rigpa, who's one of my supporters. Good to see people in charge of our health who don't need presidential pardons spanning 11 years. I guess.
Fauci. And it did go back 11 years, which is so interesting. Like right when they gave the EcoHealth Alliance grant. It's like the president, it's like, I saw that the meme was like, I like my doctors that don't have the medical degree and the presidential pardon hanging next to each other on the wall.
I wanted to ask Biden for a pardon just for being a pardon.
You should have made your last name Biden. You would have gotten one. Last name.
Well, I still have a chance to change it to Trump. I mean, I could get that.
You get that.
Oh, yeah. We know family is important. Kathy H says the bromance lives on. Do we have a bromance?
Yeah, it's called being friends.
Yeah. Everybody wants to make this, vaguely sexual.
They want to make it all sexual.
It's only vaguely sexual. It's not entirely sexual.
Just because we don't wear pants when you do this show,
that's true.
It's sexual.
Or in between shows. Yeah. Is there evidence that getting sick with mild diseases as a kid improves your immune system over your life? Eveline says. I just don't think that's been properly. I mean, all the studies, there can't do a prospective study.
I mean, I guess I would say that like
hygiene hypothesis stuff.
Yeah, which like a lot of people think that if you don't get sick with certain things, you're more likely to have autoimmunity, and there's some weak evidence that that's true. I don't think that getting more colds when you're younger means you're more likely to be robust older. But I also think that like I have a strong belief that you shouldn't avoid colds, and like anybody who's like experienced when kids go to daycare or school knows that you got to rip off the Band-Aid at some point. This kid gonna get sick with a lot of things. It can be when they're 6 months and go to daycare. It can be when they're 18 months and go to preschool. It can be when they're 3 years and go to It can be when they're 5. But at some point they have to get over a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's just no solution for having to get life, getting sick and getting better.
This is a one happening, and the ecosystem is full of microbes, and that's how it is. Yeah, it doesn't mean we can't tweak things. Help the immune system do its thing.
You can help it.
Yeah.
Some vitamin D will tweak. No, just
crack. Little vitamin A. Little vitamin measles. Little crack cocaine.
So vitamin A, I think, has a Cochrane review that's positive, but largely in
populations of developing world. Yeah, where there's vitamin A deficiency. That's a trick. So there's the thing. Like, there are scientists and there are bad scientists, and I think we have a mix probably around doing things. I'm not going to say names, but because I'm going to be friendly in this episode. And also, I don't care.
Yeah, I think that, to me, the premise of better safety studies is sound. Like, I would like to see better safety studies. But I think that unless the safety studies done are actually superb quality.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard.
To persuade anyone. And sometimes in science, what you do is you get your opponent to do the study. Like, the person to do, like, if you're skeptical of vaccine safety, find some vaccine proponent and make them do the study, because maybe they'll find something that changes their mind.
Right.
Like with COVID vaccines, I suspect there are some unknown safety, like perhaps ITP, perhaps stroke, perhaps small increases in cardiovascular disease.
Well, it was interesting that they were able to catch those safety signals, say in the J&J vaccine, at least some of them.
The VIT.
The
VIT to blew your
what is it?
brain up.
Vaccine-induced. What the hell does it stand for? I don't know.
Vaccine-induced thrombocytopenia and thrombosis.
Thrombosis. Yeah, these cavernous sinus thromboses
Blew
and
them
things.
up.
Yeah,
and now that J&J and AZ pulled the whole thing off the market,
pulled it off.
They caught it. The Europeans caught it.
Yeah.
And then Rochelle Walensky was like, "Oh, what? What's going on?" Yeah. And then she didn't pull it off the market for another year. They didn't stop it.
Now, did you? You may not have seen this, and I only barely saw it because I don't remember it very well. But shingles vaccine. They did some series in England. Yeah, tell me about this study because I thought it was interesting, and I knew if we talked again that you'd have something to say about this study. Let's explain it to people. Wow. And the challenges of studying anything are kind of highlighted here.
I don't believe it, but okay. Yeah. Well, what did they do? The study, to my knowledge, I think there was a moment in time in Wales where they decided that if you were 79 years old and 51 weeks, you would get the shingles shot. But if you were like 80 years old and 1 week, you wouldn't get the shingles shot.
On account of socialized medicine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because
they're rationing it.
They're rationing.
Yeah.
They can't afford it or something. So they offered it, and the cutoff was a certain age cutoff.
Exactly. It was a hard cutoff.
It was a hard cutoff.
Yeah.
Like above it, you're shit out of luck.
Yep.
And younger than it, you're recommended. And I think among people younger than it, like a huge chunk got it, 50, 60%.
50-60%, yeah.
So there's a big difference in getting it.
And I got the shingles vaccine, and it is a brutal one. It's a 2 series, and I felt like I was kicked in the anus.
You got it.
Yeah, I got it because I don't like shingles.
You know what I don't like?
And I like getting
the side effects
autistic.
of the shingles vaccine. No, yeah. You don't like autism. Yeah.
Oh, it was brutal. Yeah. And I only am partially.
I want to do a study where we add up like all the days. Like if 1,000 people get the shingles shot, how many days of work are missed? Versus if 1,000 people live to get the shingles.
So.
Because there's no. It's like
I agree. Like it was so brutal. I would have missed work if I had a job. It was horrible. For me. Yeah. And I guess I'm reactogenic to that particular vaccine.
And
whereas flu vaccine never bothers me.
The absolute risk reduction for shingles is still under a percentage point. I think like 0.8%.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. So back to this, the study's like, so they got the group of people that just young enough to get it, just old enough to not get it. And then they plot the risk of shingles by weeks you are above or below this threshold. Mm-hmm. And so if you are if you get the vaccine, your risk of shingles is, it goes up with age, but it's there's a step right when the vaccine is given. Like people just on one side of the cutoff have slightly lower shingles than just above the cutoff, and it's like 0.8% difference. And then they looked for dementia, and for dementia they think they see a step. Which is that just below the cutoff, 79 years, whatever, there's slightly lower dementia than 80 years, and they attribute that to like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a regression discontinuity. There's 2 linear regressions, and then there's a jump in the function at that time point. Okay, so that's what they say. Then they break it into men and women. And in men, there's no jump at all. There's no discontinuity. And in women, there's a 3 percentage point difference in dementia. So it only works for women.
Whoa.
It don't work for men.
In this analysis.
Now, when I look at the raw data and I delete the regression line and I ignore their splitting of the data at this time point, I look at it and I don't see any regression discontinuity. To me, it looks like there's just a continual risk of dementia as you get older, and there's nothing special about this age cutoff. So I think, in my opinion, they're forcing a spline, they're forcing a division of the data that's not really there. And when I look at the women's data plot, to me, it's just 3 data points driving the whole signal. So to me, it feels very noisy, like it feels noisy.
Right. So you need a bigger trial or a better designed trial or a prospective trial or something.
Prospective trial would be helpful.
Which with shingles you could do.
Yeah.
Because plenty of people don't get that shot.
Yeah, and even, again, a staggered trial. You could randomize people at 50 versus 51, or 50 versus 52.
Right.
And the control arm gets it 2 years later, and then you'll be able to see is there a reduction in dementia.
Right. And what is interesting, too, is that I think they use the older vaccine, whether it's live attenuated or a dead, I forget what. It's not the recombinant one they're using now that kicked my ass.
I see.
So we don't even know, in the U.S., that's the vaccine that's recommended, the newer one.
And you're a man.
And I'm a dude, so I'm already demented.
And you were excluded.
I was excluded for having pre-existing dementia.
Baseline dementia.
Exactly. I was like, spell world backwards. I'm like, D-I-C-K. I don't know.
Camera, man, plane.
I speak word salad at baseline.
Word salad.
Corn, Jimmy hats. VP totally looks like an over-the-road trucker after a road trip, possibly hauling cattle, says Tim Devine.
Well, it's been a rough season there up in Montana.
Yeah, man. I hear you. Let's see here if there's other thoughts on COVID vaccine causing tinnitus. I don't know much about that.
Oh, I think probably. But, very hard to prove. Yeah.
Right.
I think that they tried to investigate with Kaiser data, and it's hard to link, but I mean, it's plausible.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of plausible things, but you really need a big data set and the right.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. And then this whole thing about like, so Kurt brings up, are men's testosterone levels going down from environmental endocrine disruptors or the lack of physical activity? We used to all be in an agrarian society working on a farm all day. I don't think we know the answer to this, right?
Yeah.
So there are people who say that they know
life expectancy is a bit lower.
Yeah, that's true. So they died before they could grow man breasts. That's the difference.
Yeah, I always find it interesting when people say like, everybody is testosterone low and everybody's vitamin D deficient. Well, then what's the normal? What do you do?
What's the normal?
Yeah, what's the normal based on that? Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I think this goes with a certain mindset, right? Yeah. That it's a certain belief structure, which is that we've done something abnormal to humans and now they're permanently screwed up. And by the way, this was done intentionally by nefarious sources that are profit driven. Now, some of this is true. I mean, in a sense, right? Yeah, there are profit-driven things that affect behavior, but like, will banning FD&C number 9 like cure what ails us? Probably not. It's probably an epiphenomenon of everything else we do wrong, which is actually believe we're separate selves moving through space and time with free will. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to eat those colors, but I also think that they still left the Fruit Loop in the box, which is pretty shitty.
Exactly.
The Fruit Loop is what?
It's full
refined
of
carbohydrate and pure
corn
sugar.
syrup. Yeah, exactly.
You don't even eat breakfast.
I don't.
I don't eat breakfast either.
Yeah, breakfast is
poison.
It's breakfast of champions.
They lied. They said breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Yeah, who said that? General Mills.
Someone wants to gain weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone wants you to gain weight.
It's like Johnny Kellogg was like, yeah, breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
We're Indian people. We should eat like boa constrictors once a week.
Once a week.
If you're lucky.
There's a whole goat.
You swallow it whole.
We were talking earlier about Trevor Noah and his stand-up. Like, I didn't watch Daily Show or anything, but like his stand-up is amazing. His accent, his Indian accent.
I love that. I used to love Russell Peters do it.
Oh, Russell Peters, but that guy, he's just, you know what he does great is a Cantonese accent. Yeah. He's like, hey, be a man. Be a man. Like, goddamn,
and
Russell.
he had the one of, like, when he's on the subway in Hong Kong.
Oh yeah, oh god. Or he goes to negotiate with a vendor in like some alley in Hong Kong. He's like, hey, for you only $30. He's like, hey, where are you going? Be a man. Be a man. Come buy this from me. Let's see. Rosie T says, oh my god, I've never seen the two of you live. Well, now you have, Rosie.
We've done like 2.
Yeah, we've done a couple.
One versus why CD's recommending the COVID vaccine for all people 6 months old. I just read that they're about to change it. Like this week, they're like, oh, maybe we should give it to old people. I'm like, oh, you fucking moron. Like, we've been saying that for years, and now finally they're going to change it.
Oh my god.
They're going to change it. I think that's going to finally, that craze is over.
Yeah, well, let's see. So Blazing says, seems to me like it's been a chance for the pharmaceutical industry to have a response to the food industry, which has been in control since the 1950s.
Oh, is it? That's Ozempic?
Yeah, I mean,
it's Pharma v. Food.
Pharma v. Food.
Pharma v. Food.
Pharma v. Food. I don't know, man. I just don't know anything. I know nothing. I have realized that. Do you think you know anything?
I really do feel like I know nothing.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I go on rounds. I'm like, shit, I know a lot. I'm like, oh, shit.
Knowledge is relative. That's
like, wow,
true. In the relative space, knowledge is absolutely relative.
I'm like, oh, my goodness.
Like something. So actually, for a second, this idea that people will say expertise is under challenge now with the Trump era. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I feel like, I don't know. I am in the middle on this because they're like, what are we going to do to improve trust in science? I'm like, well, you shouldn't have really fucked it up. So I'm like, you pretty much kind of lied about everything. I guess, I don't know. I have no sympathy. I said this before. I have no sympathy for all these people crying about their grants. I was like, oh, so your upper middle class life is going to be threatened. I was like, this whole pandemic, by the way, some of these people, like literally that they study early. Oh no.
Yeah, it's our focus. I'll fix it. You keep going.
This is like,
the camera got angry with us.
And that's where he touched me, Z. It's like they blur out my
This is
face.
like a very special episode of Different Strokes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So these people with their grants.
Yeah, like somebody's like they're like, oh, they study like early life course and how it affects like how you grow up in society. And then during the pandemic, they had like nothing to say on school closure. I mean, many of these people are just looking out for themselves.
Yeah, of course.
They actually don't care. I mean, they do research to help society, but they have no courage. And when we needed their courage, when they literally closed schools in this area for 18 months, they said nothing. They did nothing. Those of us who put our neck out, they didn't support us. They didn't help us. They didn't try to prevent the mob from, trying to get us fired and all these kinds of penalties we faced. When they didn't ask for any debates on campus, they were complicit in it. And now they're like, oh, well, knowing what we knew at the time. I was like, you idiot, you knew it. There was enough. Everyone knew it at the time if you actually could read. And, like. So
what if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying vengeance. This is about vengeance.
I wouldn't even call it vengeance. I was just like, I don't know, like if you pay a fire department and then one day there's a fire and the whole city block burns down and they're just sitting there, sitting in their office eating donuts and watching the fire, like, oh boy, that's a big fire. And then somebody's like, oh, well, now we're going to cut your fire budget because you fuckers didn't help us when the fire was burning. Like, are you trying to get vengeance on me? I was like, you didn't do your job, so why the fuck we fund you? Why the fuck we fund you? You didn't do your job.
Then the question is what happens when there's a fire? Do we get amateurs to go out there and throw shit on it, or this is a serious question? I don't know.
I don't know the answer, but
I agree. I think these people were fuckwads during COVID.
I certainly think that most of these scientists are not actually putting out fires. They're writing papers that no one reads. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're writing like
usually about DEI or something.
DEI or like I shouldn't. But there's like
we're live. Okay, just remember that.
Previously, I made the claim that like the majority of science is neither true nor useful, which I think it's not just my claim. It's John Ioannidis' paper, and it's been well supported. Right. And then somebody was arguing with me that I reject the fact that most scientists are committing fraud and that the things that we're doing are not truthful. We're doing really the Lord's work here, blah, blah, blah. And then like 2 weeks later, I noticed that on this website like PubPeer or Peer Review or something, somebody found like 20 of this person's papers have image duplication. And I'm like, of course, because your fucking paper's full of image duplication because it's a lot of fraud and you don't even want to know the fraud.
Oh, man. It's depressing, man.
So I guess
if you can't rely on experts, then who are we relying on? What are we doing? Do we just have to fix it? Or what,
I don't know. Is it fixable?
I don't know.
I think that like right now we're seeing we live in a political system where, in some systems there's a trend towards consensus. Like in a parliamentary system, you need a certain percent. Oh, for instance, the Pope died.
Right.
And right now the new Pope will be elected.
Conclave. Yeah.
To be elected Pope, you need a supermajority. You need 2/3 of the conclave, the cardinals under 80, to vote for you to be Pope. You cannot win, and they'll keep voting. So it's interesting. They bring you in there and sequester you.
In between molesting children?
This is the one time they can't get their hands on kids because they're conclave. And that's why they don't want to be there. They got to get out of that conclave fast.
Oh, there comes the angry messages.
So they're in the conclave, and they're there until they pick the Pope.
Right.
And then they keep having ballots.
Right.
And until 2/3 majority. So what does it mean? It means that like in the first vote, it'll go like 12 ways. And then people will start to see like who's a front runner, who's not. And then they'll say, if we don't vote for, Jorge, we're going to get Pietro. And Pietro is like a fundamentalist, hardcore guy. And like, it's better this guy who, he's not perfect, but he's a centrist, in many ways, he's much more center. And so that system creates centrism.
Right.
Whereas our system, we have two primaries. To win a primary on the one side, you have to be, you have to be extreme. You can't win it as a centrist.
Right.
On both sides. And so like, somebody once asked me like, what do you think people will say about this administration in 20 years? And I'm like, like the way we think about Clinton and Bush, like in retrospect, it felt like very minor changes. Yeah. It's going to swing more and more.
Yeah. So you're saying the delta is just going to be wider?
Huge.
Yeah. Because of the way the system is designed, primaries, et cetera.
So there'll be like two groups of quote unquote experts. They'll be
their own facts.
There'll be two sciences.
I agree.
Yeah.
that's what I'm seeing. Yeah. Like so okay. You can like listen to Paul Offit, who I happen to my general moral foundation tends to align more with him over the years. We've known each other. And you could believe that everybody in power right now is batshit crazy and we're all going to die. And then you could listen to the people there and they could say, look, these people fucked up COVID forever and they're wrong about all this and they haven't looked at safety and we're still fat and dying as a country and we're spending the most in the world. And both these are mutually exclusive ideas. Yeah. And yet nobody knows, like you only know who to believe based on what your instinct is telling you at this point. And that just means your moral taste buds. So you're going to align with who you align with. And I bet all the comments are going to be a lot of that kind of thing. Like, well, because you said wet market was bullshit, then you're fucking, and it's like, well, we're not really looking at science anymore. Like you said, there's two sciences.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do about that.
I think the lab leak was a little bit bad. Like, I mean, obviously it was bad. They like completely lied about it and they're Fauci and the cover up and all that.
Right.
But I think that the thing that really killed trust was the day-to-day stuff. Like your kids in school, masking just because they made people do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's also why, like, it's much easier to watch the current stuff kind of like as a spectator and not like, we don't feel like combatants anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's like, doesn't really affect like
my
day-to-day.
Well, someone like Paul Offit, who is at Children's Hospital, sees kids, he takes a very strong position because I think that's his day-to-day, right? And I think for me, it's more like, I don't know that any belief is, I have trouble with belief in general, but science at least is a kind of process to try to find, okay, in this like game that appears to have rules, what are the rules for this thing, right?
Blurred again.
Oh, fuck me. But the thing is, like, what I like about you, VP, is you have opinions and positions and beliefs, but you also have an approach to actually get at truth in this kind of game that has rules, which then ought to transcend those two sides. But even the way you play the game can be rigged, right? So then you're going to get the answer that you want, or at least not an answer you don't want. I mean, pharma's been doing that for years. Yeah. Right? I guess I would definitely not want an incorrect safety analysis. I want the true safety. Right. I want the true safety analysis. Right. I do think that some things they're like, you know, I mean, the current measles outbreak, like the seeds for that were sown 10 years ago. Quite a while ago. Yeah, it's not like something that happened last month. Vaccine mistrust been going on, for quite a while. Yeah. And then in some ways, I don't know, the US, like, we do have globally a very aggressive schedule. And I think that, I mean, one of the points I heard Marty made was that if a few things were more negotiable, people might be more likely to subscribe to the whole enchilada. So this is where, like, someone like Marty is more of a centrist. He's a pragmatist. He's saying, I understand the rationale for an aggressive schedule because people will deviate and they might miss it, and then we need this degree of immunity in order to protect children. But what's happening is it's backfiring, and it's causing this huge backlash. So why don't we actually understand how humans behave, what makes them tick a little bit, use our own intuition a little bit? I mean, that's why Trump is president. He's actually incredibly intuitive. And and he functions from that place. You listened to the Bill Maher thing about his dinner with him? I did, yeah. It was very interesting. Which Larry David. Larry David said dinner with Adolf. I'm like, the minute you start talking about Hitler, you've jumped the shark. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I get it. Everyone's very passionate about this. I'm really curious what Bill says about it on Friday. But I thought Bill was pretty fair about, you know, he's just saying how he felt when he was there, which is like hard to argue with. Yeah. You once upon a time said how you felt when you were somewhere, and you got a lot of shit for it too. You're like, I'm just telling you how I felt when I was present. And they're like, no, you didn't feel that way. Fuck you, Z. I was like, I'm just telling you my lived experience. I thought you guys cared about lived experience. Oh, man. Wait, so we got to talk about Harvard. Let's talk about Harvard. So I do think that, I think Harvard has misplayed its hand. Well, one, what is Trump like? One is, I suspect there's a lot of conservatives who just want to destroy some of these places. Right. And they do want to destroy these places for, I think, a good reason, which is that these places they take a lot of taxpayer money. Right. And then they actually work to undermine the things that these conservative people believe in. Right. And, I was thinking about it that, when you work for like Pfizer or Microsoft or whatever, these companies, they do donate a little bit to both parties. They always hedge their bets. They donate a little to the Democrats, but also they always hedge their bets because they want to know, of course, we want them, them treat us favorably when the Democrats in power, but we also want the Republicans treated favorably. But universities, for 25 years, they stopped hedging their bets. They just went all in on one side. Full left, yeah. Full left, extreme left. Extreme left, yeah. And made it more and more poisonous to anyone on the right. Yeah. And then I saw that statistic that only 2% of people at Harvard identify as conservative or something very low. That's crazy. Yeah, and then somebody 50% of the population. Yeah, and then somebody was like, "Oh, that's because they have low IQ or something." And then I was like, "Oh, so all those other IQ differences that people are aware of, right? Those are all biased and racist. But this is the one IQ difference that's real, supposedly. Sure. No, the reason is there's a bias for liberal causes. Yeah. So then they positioned themselves so far out there, they went so crazy. And now, of course, there's huge chunk of regular people don't want their tax money go to these people.
And they want things in, Trump wants them like, don't wear masks on campus, end DEI, which I think the average American in polls after polls doesn't like DEI. They don't like the sort of indoctrination training and things like this.
Mm-hmm. Anti-racism.
And just what they did in the pandemic. To my knowledge, the only Harvard professor who no longer works at Harvard is the one guy who was anti-lockdown, anti-masking kids, pro-vaccine in adults who didn't have COVID, but anti-vaccine in kids. That's Martin Kulsdorff. He's the only one not employed there. All the ones that were wrong about everything, they're still working there.
Yeah.
So, promoted, in fact.
Full professor.
So they're like so biased. And I just think that a lot of people are happy to watch Trump punish them. And I
it's like a Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they think they're going to win. They're already going to lose. So like, yes, they have like $55 billion endowment, but almost all of that endowment is tied up in funds that they can't quickly cash out. And also in this economy, who can cash anything out?
Yeah, I know, right?
Good. He's like, oh, you spend your endowment? We'll crash that stock, and now you can't spend your endowment. So they have $55 billion. It's all tied up.
It's a 4-dimensional chess he's playing.
It's a 4-dimensional chess. He's got him on the ropes. Yeah. They have $9 billion a year in federal funds. Just think about that. It's a lot of federal funding. He's put a pause on $2 billion. He could put a pause on all $9 billion. And that's one set of strategies. They're going to sue him, and they may even win in court.
Right.
But if you delay $1 billion by a month or 2 months or 6 months, you delay $9 billion, and then you file appeal, you can cripple a place. That's one set of tactics. The second set, he's asked them to turn over a list of all the foreign donors. You know, all these rich
Saudis and stuff. Yeah.
Like all these like war criminals who are rich donate to Harvard so that their kids can go there.
Right, of course.
And when they start to turn over these lists, it's going to be as good for them as Epstein was for them, you know? Like it's not going to look good for them. Then he's got the IRS on their tax exemption status. And, you know, I mean, arguably, should they be tax? I've long thought universities should not be tax exempt. They should pay tax. They're not, you know, they shouldn't be tax exempt.
They're not churches.
They're not churches, yeah. So,
churches aren't churches either.
Right. Even a lot of these churches aren't churches. Yeah. So they should make them pay tax. And if he makes Harvard pay tax, revokes their tax exempt status for discrimination, which is the claim, which I think he has a plausible case on for anti-Semitism. Like it's legally, I think he'll have some merit there to do it. If he does that, it's an existential, they're dead. Like the reason people donate to them is the tax exemption.
Right.
And if they didn't get the tax exemption, they wouldn't donate as much. So they're just going to be, it'll be like he'll obliterate them.
Yeah.
So I think that Alan Garber, the president, is so smart. He knows all this. Like he knows. And what can Harvard do to Trump? Like it's like a mosquito fighting an elephant. Like they can't do anything.
Yeah.
So he knows they have no leverage over Trump and he can't do anything. But he also so smart because his number one goal is to prevent Alan Garber from getting fired. Okay, so if he goes out there and says, we agree, sir, then all the woke students will revolt and he'll get fired. Just like the Columbia president got fired for that.
Right.
Okay, Katrina Armstrong, she's a doctor. Former president.
I didn't know she was a physician.
Yeah, she's a physician. So she got fired. So then, okay, so he can't do that. So the first thing he has to do is pretend like he's going to fight. Like, oh, you know, we believe in academic freedom. We're fighting you, Trump. Oh, and he got the lawyer to file the thing. But eventually, very soon, then the second thing he has to do is he has to get the woke people to like, you know, to stop undermining him. So he has to lay them off. He's already started some layoffs.
Got it.
But you have to make the average person at Harvard start to fear for their job.
Yeah.
And once they fear for their job, then he can say, okay, we have to negotiate a deal, guys, just to save your job. This is not for me. It's for you guys. I mean, I don't want you to get laid off. So then he'll negotiate some deal.
4-dimensional chess on the Harvard side.
I think, yeah. Well, I think Garber is a 4-dimensional chess player. That's how you become president.
You think this whole thing is run by ChatGPT is kind of like a war game style?
Red shirt, blue shirt.
Yeah,
exercise.
exactly. Yeah, it's entertaining.
But like I heard somebody was telling me recently, they were like, you know, it's such a shame that Trump, like, why doesn't the public revolt and support scientists? Trump's attacking scientists. I was like, the public doesn't support people go to Harvard. The average person in the public thinks the average person at Harvard is an asshole.
Yeah.
And they're probably right about it. And they also think that people at Harvard don't help them because they don't help them. I don't see them doing much of substance. And when they had an opportunity, they weren't doing anything in the pandemic to help anybody.
Well, you know, and I'll go on a little soapbox about Ivy Leagues, even though I went to semi-1 at Stanford, but then UC Berkeley was my public school and UCSF was a public school. As you know,
your public school is still a good school.
It's still a decent school, but
Michigan State, my friend.
Hey, baby.
You know, we learned lesson 1, tailgating. Okay.
See, so let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah.
There's an article recently my wife resent me. It came out a few years ago, but I don't think this has changed. I think it's gotten worse. Kids in Ivy League schools are so fucking miserable. They're miserable, they're anxious, they're fragile. And part of that is because of the process they had to go through in order to get into that Ivy League, meaning all the fucking music lessons, all the stupid clubs they don't care about, all the fucking volunteering, all the resume padding, all the studying, all the sleepless nights, all the anxiety, all the Adderall that they had to go through to get there. And then they get there and they realize they're just getting indoctrinated into more bullshit for the sake of success or whatever that means in society. We have destroyed these kids, right? It didn't used to be that way, I don't think. It wasn't like, it's all, you know, we've tried meritocracy and it really hasn't worked out that well. Now we have like a backlash against experts. So there's probably just a better way to do that. Like,
you know, I wonder though, like you said that, like, I agree with you that Harvard, like the Ivy Leagues ruined them. But you said call it meritocracy. I think in some ways it's that they don't rely on standardized testing enough. Because like if they made a really like, oh, first of all, the test is not the hardest standardized test there could be.
Correct.
You could imagine a test where you have 3 hours to take it and there's unlimited questions. And then you can really drag out the tail. Like take all the people who score perfect. When there's unlimited questions, some of us can do questions way faster, you know, like we'll, you know, pull that tail apart.
Absolutely.
But instead of that, they do all these like soft things. Are you a swimmer? Do you do lacrosse? Do you have sailing?
So what does that really test? It tests the financial and time ability of the parents. Yeah, that's what it does.
Drive them to all this shit.
So what you're doing, is you're selecting for parents who are crazy. Then you get kids who are crazy, who are willing to do all this stuff. And I tell you, as the parent of a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old, they're going through this now. And my 17-year-old, who is actually wiser than I am at that age, she's just like, I don't want this. I don't want to go to Harvard. I don't want to go because mom went to Harvard. She's like, well, you know, there's a legacy thing. She's like,
mom went to Harvard.
No, mom actually doesn't want her to go there either.
Mom doesn't want her to go to Harvard.
Mom couldn't stand Harvard, actually. Doesn't donate to them. Just was miserable. It was cold. People were shitty. You know, she made good friends.
She wants them to pause another $1 billion in funds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I saw that at Harvard. They have two things. One, they just started a remedial math class because, you know, they admit some kids who don't even know how to do basic math.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that's one. Two, they said that in the first day after Trump paused $2 billion, they fundraised $1 million. And I was like, well, you're still down $1,999.
Yeah,
you do remedial math. Go back to the remedial math class and do that.
Yeah,
it's like you're never gonna win.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So your wife doesn't want her to go to Harvard.
No, and my daughter doesn't want to go. She wants to go to like a smaller school where there's a little more attention, like a liberal arts type
school. Like a Kenyon
school.
College.
Don't even know yet.
An Oberlin.
Something just goofy. And
oh no!
Oh fuck! Our focus for people just listening on audio.
Maybe it's my hat that does it.
You know, it doesn't. You know what? It doesn't like Elon Musk, and you look too much like dark MAGA Elon Musk. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, nothing wrong with Ivy Leagues. That's great, but like, there is a disconnect with the average American for sure. There always has been, but it's gotten worse and worse. And now you have this momentum of people who have money and have education. They're the only. That's your only hope of getting into these programs. And with DEI gone, it's even easier. But although, again, putting some kid from a bad background, like a struggled background, into Harvard is a recipe for struggle, stress.
They call mismatch hypothesis.
Mismatch hypothesis. Because you're with a bunch of assholes.
Well, that's why you have to do away with the grades at Harvard.
Yeah. So then it's a slippery slope of like, it's not even, why even bother trying to get in, you know? So I don't know. I
think like most of the professors I know at places like Harvard, they don't think highly. They maybe once upon a time thought highly of the undergrads. Now they don't think highly of them. They in fact try to avoid them. The goal of being a Harvard professor is that you can have your office and do your research and never have to talk to the undergrads.
Never talk to the actual students. I mean, and then what effect is actual, I know AI is bullshit to some degree here, but what effect is that going to have on the whole reason to get these higher educations in the first place?
I don't know. They're all going to become influencers like us on
exactly.
YouTube anyway.
Like I went to Stanford so I could become an influencer. That's basically what I did.
Run my Instagram page.
That's right. Hashtag Stanford. Hashtag, you know, Stanford Ivy League. I don't even know.
I think Ivy League equivalent.
Yeah, Ivy League adjacent. That's right. They definitely have a lot of money.
But Berkeley's too good a school too.
But now it's like, I don't know what it is now. I go there and I'm just overwhelmed by just the mass of humanity. All wearing really cute
all protesting.
All protesting. Actually, no. The mass of them are like Asian, and they couldn't give two shits about Gaza. They're just trying to get into medical school, or engineering,
or start some company.
Start a company, yeah. They couldn't give two shits about these social causes. Yeah. So I don't know. It's tough because simultaneous to all this madness is for me personally, which I talk about on my show, is a total collapse of like the one who cares. And yet here I am saying things like I actually do care. So like there's still belief, there's still opinion, there's still that, but the fundamental belief that any of it is real is kind of hard to muster. I don't know if you experience any of that.
Well, I certainly was telling you, I experienced the feeling of like, a lot of these issues for me are like much more theoretical. I saw somebody put in the chat that like, they don't feel a positive impact of the current president in their life either. And I would say like, if you're really honest, I feel like with the exception of the pandemic, where it did affect our day-to-day lives, I feel like it's very difficult to draw a line between anything the federal government is doing in your day-to-day life.
I agree.
And now it's even more difficult to draw a line between anything that's going on in my day-to-day life, other than I look at my retirement portfolio and wonder, hope that turned around.
That was a direct hit, but these things,
But like you're just holding it for now.
You're holding it anyways. I mean, if you're buying and selling, you're fucking yourself anyways, probably, unless you're magical. You're not gonna.
It's so interesting because like our generation, what school you went to was so defining.
It was defining.
And so important.
It was so.
And now you don't even care.
And now I don't care.
Even if your daughter didn't go to college.
My daughter could go to fucking Fresno Community College and I'd be like, you go, girl, just as long as you got some skill that AI doesn't have. And even if you don't, then maybe make sure that AI takes care of you. Yeah. And you get to go do what you're wired to do, whatever that is. Play video games.
On Twitch.
On Twitch.
Twitch star.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I'm trying to get her to be an influencer, but she sees dad and she's like, so that's what an influencer looks like? Fuck that.
She's like old and tired.
Yeah, old, tired,
supposed bald. To look young and hot.
Yeah, exactly. This guy's not young and hot.
I don't think you're an influencer. I think that's an incorrect label.
Yeah, because no one listens to me.
You're not influencing anybody.
Not influencing anybody.
No, I feel like to me, what influencer means is that the content of what they're talking about is almost exclusively in like one of three domains. One, how they dress or wear makeup. Two, what they eat and how they exercise. Three, the places they visit and see. But in terms of like even among the medical people, a lot of the medical people are in those three buckets. Like, I'm a doctor, I'm a dermatologist. Look at what I eat for breakfast. Look at what I drink. Look what I do. But like actually talking about issues in medicine.
No, very few.
There's like
very few
1% of that.
That's true. That's a good point.
To talk about anything, and even the humorous videos and stuff is free. Nobody else makes humorous videos.
Yeah, not anymore.
No, who else was doing it?
I mean, I don't know. No, but Glocken fucking.
Oh, nobody makes music humorous videos.
Oh yeah, no, nobody does it. Maybe nobody really does a lot of parody music videos anymore. Yeah,
that's
true.
So that was your first thing, and now your show was the second thing.
Right.
I see Dr. Mike's got a show. It's similar.
Oh, does he have a show? Oh, he's interviewing people. Yeah,
he's interviewing people. But I feel like I don't know. It doesn't feel exactly the same.
It's a little different vibe. But now I talk a lot about like spiritual nonsense, like meaning it is nonsense. Like this idea that you can seek to wake up and somehow solve your problems that way.
See, that's what you moved to. But
well,
that's also not really influencing.
Yeah, it's more like here's my experience right now in this thing that unravels. It's like, yeah, there's no self, there's no identity. This is kind of a dream, and yet you have no choice but to be in this.
But you never post a video called "Get Ready with Me." Where you like get all dressed
or
up.
Yeah, come watch me meditate in my new great outfit from Amazon. Link in bio.
Yeah, link in bio. Yeah, my new figs.
Yeah, my new figs Amazon meditation scrubs, because you have to cross over.
Express train to Bulge City.
Express train to Bulge City, is that what you said? Damn, dude, that's the scrubs I need. Anything to augment.
I actually don't think figs look good at all.
No, I don't either.
They're terrible.
No, I actually used to pitch. I did a show with a woman who makes scrubs in LA that were actually better looking scrubs, but they were so expensive.
Oh, she's like hand-tailored scrubs?
Yeah, she was a doctor, and she's like, women have to suffer through these shitty looking scrubs. Like, I decided to make these nice scrubs, but they were so expensive that like my audience was like, fuck that. We're nurses. We're not fucking buying this shit.
I always felt like part of the appeal of scrubs was that they were ill-fitting and boxy. Totally. So like, it took the focus off the self.
That's right.
And put it on
on your job.
On your job.
Or just chilling.
Yeah, just completely don't care.
Yeah, I just don't give a fuck. Yeah, because when I was a hospitalist, like for the first few years, because I was young, I always like wore a tie and a thing and everything, and I looked very professional. Then I started taking the tie off and just having the shirt, nice slacks. Then I started wearing a cardigan because I could cover up that I had a shit shirt underneath, like just a little cardigan. I don't know what's the word for it. A nice sweater. It's not a cardigan.
Like a button-up sweater.
Like no, not that. Like just a nice sweater.
I see.
Yeah, made of nice wool, merino wool sweater, whatever the fuck. I don't know anything about fashion. You can tell. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm wearing scrubs. And when that happened, it was just a couple years before I quit. Because I was like,
it's the beginning of the end.
It's the beginning of the end. It's like, I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't care about how I look. I don't care about how I'm presenting myself. And this is not good because I've lost, this is not me anymore. Serena says, curious what you think about RFK's current take on autism. I don't care what RFK's current take on autism because he's not a scientist. He's a lawyer. So I guess he's in charge of the thing now, but I care what people who study autism think about it. Or,
I like him a little bit more because I always give a little favor to him. But I listened to his thing. I don't know. He's looking into it. Well, let's see. I want to see this report. Then I'll know the answer.
Of what? Yeah, right.
Oh, but their people were very angry with all his comments. I found even the response also was like, there's no need to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, all I know is people are really perplexed about my cardigan comment because I don't even know what a cardigan is.
Well, the standard uniform for a doctor now is scrubs with a Patagonia. Patagonia
vest.
jacket. Yeah, Patagonia vest or jacket over it.
That's inexcusable because you're going high-low fashion here.
Yeah.
And the Patagonia is the tech bro, like
it's tech bro. No. I still wear a suit to clinic. I like this.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. When you care, in my opinion, you dress the part and you project a certain aura. It is energetic because the patient picks it up. And I noticed that when I started wearing scrubs, the patients would just be a little more reticent. There was just like, are you a resident? Like, because you still at that time looked a little young, still had some hair. It was like, what's going on? Now I could probably go in there naked and that would be the power move. That would be the power move. That's all aura.
Like, you look so familiar.
Yeah. Have we met in a hotel? Autumn says, have you guys listened to the Telepathy Tapes podcast? That'd be a no. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Any other good comments here before we
call it? What
tap out?
Harvard universities. Swearing.
What else do we? Oh, swearing. What's up with swearing?
There's always
somebody complaining about our swearing.
Some people don't like it. Some people do like it. You'll never make them happy.
This is
best off not to.
It's a wiring thing. Everybody has preferences. We're born with them. They evolve. They change. Mine is fuck all them hoes.
That's a good preference.
Yeah, I mean, that's my preference. If people don't like it, they don't watch. But the funny thing is, what I found is people who don't like it watch harder just to leave comments about how much they don't like it. And that juices my algorithm, which gets me more views, which makes me an official influencer when I tell you, guys, see what I'm doing with Z-Dog merchandise today.
Only the hater watches every hour of it.
Every hour of it.
But I wonder, you mentioned you don't want your daughter didn't want to do what you do.
Right.
But would you want your daughter to do what you do?
100%. Oh, wait a minute. We went out of focus again because, there we go. I would want her to do what I do now, which is express what she's going through and have people form a kind of community around that. I think that would be great. I just don't know what that is for her.
I see.
But I would not want her to be an influencer the way these kids are.
Yeah.
Did I tell you so? I can't say this because I'm under NDA with Meta. Meta has some new project that's so they send their bigger creators, because on Facebook I have 2.5 million followers and on Instagram like 500 and some thousand. Like YouTube is a rounding error on that stuff.
Wow.
So I get this invite and I go to this thing. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's like they're pitching these influencers on their new big thing. And they are truly influencers. So the other people on the call are these big influencers. And you can tell just by how they look. They're like all made up, the great lighting. And I'm like this. I think I literally have my dick in my hand. And it was like that. And I'm like,
you look like a washed up influencer.
I did. I look like the forcibly retired influencer, who got canceled and like still trying to claw some ad revenue. But within 5 minutes, I was like, this isn't for me. And I bailed out of that. I'm like, I don't even know I went to it because I thought maybe they'd say something interesting, but it wasn't. Yeah.
I think the good parts about this stuff is it's fun to learn about the audiovisual stuff.
Yep, that's fun.
The audience doesn't know how technical it can be because before we started, you were like working like a dog.
Dude,
for 10
it's brutal.
Minutes, all these knobs and buttons.
Yep.
And I think it's also nice to be able to talk about
all this crazy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also nice to be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and to have no set schedule where you can talk about it or not talk about it when you want to.
I agree.
Those are the perks. And
there's lots of perks. Be your own boss. It's just if you want to actually make a living doing it, you have to work hard. You get no breaks. It's like, it's brutal. Luckily, we're not in that position anymore. So it's like, fuck it. We'll do what we want when we want. People are like, where's your VPZD? You want your podcast to pop? You got to do it every week.
Yeah, that's what they always like. Oh,
yeah,
God.
yeah. It's like you mistake us for people who care about the podcast. What we care about is hanging out, talking shit, and interacting with people. That's it. And if we can't do that or we don't feel like doing that, we're not going to fucking do that.
That's a good attitude.
Fuck all them hoes. That's my point. One of my supporters, DVD Mon, says, my daughter decided not to go to college and I thought I dodged a bullet. Now, 1.5 years after she would have, she's now saying she wants to go. That's the thing. You know, it's hard to function today without at least a college degree because we've set it up that way. It didn't used to be that way. I mean, it'd be nice if we could have like actual technical schools, trade schools that were powered up, that we could do things that actually are helpful, like electricians and
some of the college is fun, trades. Like hang out with friends and like that part of it is fun.
Loved it, yeah. Didn't love the stress of what am I going to do with my life? Or am I going to get into medical school? Or worse, do I want to go to medical school? Which I wasn't sure about that because I was a music minor. I was like, I want to be a famous guitarist. Then I realized, no talent.
You kind of could have done it.
No. Didn't have it. So I had to go around it the circuitous way. Had to go to medical school so that then I could get enough credibility at Stanford as a Stanford doctor that I could have a channel that then people are watching for the medical. And then I go, oh, guess what? I made a music video.
I see.
That's amateur hour, but you guys will watch it because there's no doctors making music videos. That was my rap.
What type of doctor do you want to be? And you're like, what? But am I going to med? Oh, of course.
Exactly. I'm like, I want to be the kind that raps on the parody videos, daddy. Dude, our focus. You see that the tech is dodgy at best. It's an AI face detection and it has no eye.
That's the quality of AI these days.
It has no eye. That's that red app I was telling you about. Well, I mean, I think we did a thing here.
That was good.
That was fun. You got to get to a yoga class at some point.
I'm going to do some
exercise. Be downward doggy style. Yeah.
That sounds like you're ready to teach it.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Let's do it.
But you do yoga too.
I do yoga. I do an hour of Travis Elliott's power yoga like every other day. And then some yin yoga.
What other exercise do you do?
I go to the gym occasionally. I do a little weights and some Stairmaster. And I walk about 7 miles every other day.
What kind of supplements do you take?
None. I just nothing but anal testosterone.
I see.
Yeah.
T-gel.
T-gel.
But that's only because you're deficient.
No, I don't even take that. Yeah, I don't take anything.
Don't worry, it shows. No, just shows, yeah.
It shows in my erectile dysfunction. Yeah. Right, exactly. Actually, my low libido.
Low
That's
libido.
What it is. Low libido. Man, this was fun, brother.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
Yeah. Anything else? I think
we talked about what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, anything else is personal that we shouldn't be talking about. That we'll talk about
offline
in a minute. If I don't hit end, then we're fucked.
Let's keep hearing us talk.
Exactly. All right, here we go. I go here. We say bye. Oh, smash that like button.
Oh yes.
We are an audio podcast, so find us on the VPZD show. I'll put it up maybe tomorrow or the next day. On audio.
Z is a better guitarist than me, I think.
I don't know about that. I think we could be a duet.
But I'm taking vocal lessons to catch up.
See, that's the thing. I took vocal lessons and I still suck. We could be like the Indigo Girls, except not gay, or maybe gayer. All right, gang. Katie Hodak says, got to get a weighted vest. That's the thing now. I see these guys walking with weighted vests on this trail. And they're walking. They're rucking. They're walking really slow, but they're huffing and puffing. And you just go, and it doesn't look heavy. So you're like, what a pussy. And then you realize he's holding like 100 pounds on his chest.
100 pounds. Yeah.
You're like, damn. All right, sons and daughters, peace. And everyone in between, peace.